It took 17 weeks. Nope. It took 16 weeks and 3 tries, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, they found their quarterback. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Streckbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/all Steelers talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they defeat the Cincinnati Bengals. Life is good. This is hands down their best performance of the season, top to bottom. And even when you go back and you try to handpick, the second half of the LA Rams game or the win against the Cincinnati Bengals the first time, wherever you want to go, whatever you want to pick and choose, this performance, week 16 against the Cincinnati Bengals at home to set up 8-7 and a possibility to go 10-7 on the season with 2 wins in games against the Seattle Seahawks and the Baltimore Ravens, it was by far the Pittsburgh Steelers' best performance of the year. And who orchestrated it? Who was behind most of it? Mason Rudolph. And nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that was going to happen. Going into the game, I made my walkover and I said, look, I believe in Mason Rudolph, not because I think he's going to add the spark or he's going to do anything crazy, just because I think he's a veteran who is cool, calm, and collected. And I think that he's a guy who, he's not Mitch Trubisky, so he's not going to turn the ball over. He's not Kenny Pickett, so he's not going to be rattled. It's more so he's just going to be even keel. He's going to be that guy that does enough to put you in position to possibly win a ball game. And I said that was enough that the Pittsburgh Steelers had a shot to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Little did I know that I was totally wrong. Mason Rudolph was not going to just give you a shot to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. He was going to go out there and he was going to do it for you. He was going to put on the best performance that you've seen out of a quarterback this season. He was going to make reads and make throws and take chances and win on those chances. That's something the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't done all year long. Mason Rudolph throws for over 200 yards, 290 yards and 2 touchdowns. He explodes George Pickens, who shuts up all the critics, myself included. And after the game, when he said that he understands that the media has a job to do, but he did keep receipts, I was 100% certain that I am on that list of receipts. But I got to say, after that one, I got nothing left to say. I got no criticism left. And even if I stand by everything I said, what he and Mason Rudolph were able to do in week 16 silences everybody, because talent in the NFL speaks louder than any word, any interview, any missed block, or whatever you want to say. George Pickens went off. And who helped him do that? Mason Rudolph. And for the first time all season, the first time in 2 years, really, you got a full glimpse of what George Pickens is capable of doing, who George Pickens actually is, and we could all stop talking about, George doesn't live up to the hype. George makes some acrobatic catches, but is that enough? Is he truly the superstar that everybody believes he could be? Yes. Yes, he is. And again, Mason Rudolph is the guy who helps you find that out. So if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, you are not sitting around and you are not thinking about, who will our quarterback be in week 17 against the Seattle Seahawks? What if Kenny Pickett is healthy? Is he the guy? Do you want to hurt his confidence? None of these questions exist. If you are actually fighting for the postseason, if you truly care about how far this team can go and if they could climb their way back into the playoffs, your starting quarterback in week 17 is Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph was the first quarterback all season that I watched go through his reads properly and quick enough to make decisions and make accurate passes. He was the first quarterback I've seen in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform to not look rattled in the pocket or not be scared to make throws. He was the first quarterback I've seen to trust his guys going deep and to take shots that were not in double coverage, to properly read when he should throw the football more than 10 plus yards. and do it successfully. He was the first quarterback in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform that I have seen in 2 years be able to do that. And, well, you just don't go back. I don't know if it was because he sat around so long. Some people say it's because he had his back up against the wall. I couldn't tell you what it is. I couldn't tell you if it was just because the last time that this guy started, he had nobody around him. And you go back and you look and you see it was a banged up Juju Smith-Schuster. It was a rookie Deontay Johnson, who at the time was a 3rd-round pick, not a guy who was going to contribute the way that he contributes now. His tight end for most of the season was like Nick Vannett and a banged up Vance McDonald, or James Conner was his running back, and he wasn't healthy most of the time, so he's really relying on Jalen Samuel and Benny Snell Jr. Say what you will about any of those guys, but, well, this offense is a little bit more talented. And maybe it was the weapons that gave him an opportunity, and he finally took advantage of it. Maybe it was his patience. Maybe it was his development over the last couple of years. Maybe it was having a quarterback's coach in Mike Sullivan, or just the fact that he just didn't care anymore. But I can tell you that this was the first time all season, the first time in 2 years, that I watched a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback drop back, control an offense, understand what he was doing, and look like an NFL quarterback. And that is crazy because that bar was so low. All you had to do was be capable enough to say, if one drive doesn't go as planned, you know it's not over. The fire has not started. It's just a bad drive. Mason Rudolph was the first quarterback in 2 years where a drive was unsuccessful and you said, that's all right. The next drive, chances are things will be just fine. And if that's all the Pittsburgh Steelers need, which it clearly looked like that's all the Pittsburgh Steelers needed, then you rock with Mason Rudolph. You do not make changes. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you are serious about this season, and you are serious about where you are, and you are serious about these last 2 games, you do not even consider making a change and putting Kenny Pickett back in there. I get it that Kenny is your future. He's the guy moving forward. He's the guy that you want to make it. He's the guy that has all this potential. I get it, but it doesn't matter. This is the NFL. If you are good, you play. If you give your team the best opportunity to win, you play. And the Pittsburgh Steelers' best opportunity to win is Mason Rudolph. It doesn't mean that you give up on Kenny Pickett. It doesn't mean that you shut him down and that you say, hey, look, now Mason's our guy, or we got to go get somebody else in the offseason. No. The best case scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Mason Rudolph turns into something, and you find something in Mason Rudolph. And yeah, I get it. He's 28 years old, but he's 28 years old. He's got plenty of NFL left in his playing days, in his arm, in his legs, in his brain, in his work ethic, in everything. He is a young NFL quarterback with plenty left in the tank. The best case scenario is you go into this offseason and you say, hey, look, at Mason played well those last 3 games, maybe more if they make the playoffs. He's looking like he's got a shot to be our guy. You obviously open up a competition, but you make it a real competition, not the nonsense competition that you held last summer when it was Mitch Trubisky versus Kenny Pickett versus Mason Rudolph. And I don't even know what the quotation marks mean there, but what I'm trying to emphasize is that it wasn't a real competition. It was a competition where Kevin Dotson told us the first day of OTAs that Mitch was the guy. That's not a real competition. Hold a real competition if things work out well, and maybe add somebody else to the mix and see who your best quarterback is. But by no means should anybody be sitting around saying, but Kenny. No, but Mason. But Mason is your best opportunity right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers looked good. The best that they have looked all season. Do not ruin that. Do not take a chance at ruining that. And I get it. If it doesn't work out, you toss Kenny back in there and you hope for the best. But if you just put Kenny back in there and he doesn't play well, and then you put Mason back in again, you're taking a bigger risk there. Ride the hot hand, because Kenny was thinking about, and everybody was thinking about Kenny getting benched before he got hurt. There's no reason whatsoever for the Steelers to even consider a quarterback change. This is Mason Rudolph's job, and it should remain Mason Rudolph's job until the Pittsburgh Steelers find a reason that it shouldn't be. But that reason should not be Kenny Pickett returning from an ankle injury in Week 17.